I'm going to call this meeting to order. As you are willing and able, please rise for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. We have no one here who has requested to deliver public comment. So we'll move right into the report of the secretary. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, February 7th, 2024.
I'll second Rebecca.
Rebecca, thank you. Excellent job, as usual.
Yep.
I had no
I had no
comments or questions about it. Anybody else?
Nope.
All in favor? That is 4-0. Thank you. Moves us into the report of the chair. One item tonight, we did have our town officials meeting on the 14th of February, on Valentine's Day, of all days. Jen, would you?
Yes,
Care
it feels
to
like
make
it was
it-
a million years ago, so pardon the rough report here. So we started with the school district's updates. Mr. Cavalier talked about our budget planning was in process. We went over the state subsidy that Ryan had given us during our last meeting, and the impacts, just talked about the impacts that has to each community. There was a facilities update as far as the boiler, some bus garage options, following up on our COPS grant funding, building security, and then a discussion about the impacts of the upcoming full-day pre-K. So space, finances, transportation, what impacts that could have. And then from Elliott, they are well into their budget process as well. They have the 236 project will be starting again, not digging up the road. So everybody can be happy about that, because in Elliott, that was sort of a heated discussion. The DOT had planned to be paving in front of EES in the spring, but they're going to see if they can bump that out to the summer to reduce the disruption from the school. They're renovating the Murray Road Park. They are doing a town hall expansion project, and that's underway. So they're currently looking for space to relocate their offices in the meantime while that project's underway. And then just some discussion, there's a potential, like down the road, a couple years down the road, for construction of a pavilion over on Dixon Road that would sort of be like a community space, outdoor community space. So for ice skating, for maybe a farmer's market, which would be really just awesome. Sort of like the one in, I think it's Kennebunk, where they have that covered space. So pickleball, a bathroom. So that would be great. And then for South Berwick, talked about the downtown revitalization. They are drafting their comprehensive plan. They've had a survey go out and the committees are formed. More talk about lights at 91 and 236. Some talk about adjusting those lights so that when the bus stops, the bus can sort of like preemptively change the light so that it's safest for kids, so cars aren't going around the lights there with that new intersection. And then there's RFP out for renovations for the town hall in South Berwick. Oh, we did touch on the light situation at 236 in Maine and Portland again. And that is coming down the line. There was a promotion to, I think his name was Scott Stevens for the lieutenant in South Berwick at the police department. Again, talked about budget concerns with both towns. There's been a less growth in South Berwick, which has had an impact on their budget process. Wage increases, workman's comp is up, health insurance is up. So same sort of problems that everybody seems to be seeing making their budget. So what I miss?
Nothing.
Okay.
Everything I had in my notes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the report of the chair and brings us to the report of the superintendent.
Thank you very much. First on the agenda is an update on our elementary health program. And so just a reminder that last year, the board prioritized creating some more health opportunities, particularly at the high school and the elementary schools. And so we are offering some programming at both the Elliott Elementary School and Central School, as well as a little bit more enhanced programming at the Marshall Grant School. So Aaron Dixon's here tonight to kind of give us a brief overview of kind of where we're at. Obviously, this is the first year, and at the end of the year, we'll kind of reassess and think about, how we can improve. So,
Septic grow.
yeah.
Okay. Thanks for having me. So I'm just going to first welcome you to my classroom. And as I explained to my third and second grade students, I'm sort of a traveling health teacher. So I bring my classroom with me and my computer. And they kind of have a lot of fun. Every topic that we teach, we add some different kind of things for them to look at and to think about when we introduce a topic. This one is a tribute to Mrs. Wyatt's class. They love pugs, and they begged me to put a pug in my classroom. So that is what I did. And I also brought my sister along, and it's just, it's been kind of fun to kind of make like my traveling around the district a little bit more manageable. Anyway, to get started on what we've been doing in health this year, these are the main learning results. There's 6 main standards. And this is where we start when we look at developing a curriculum for the elementary health program. And as we took a closer look, and I hope that you got this in your packet, this is generally how I weaved some of the standards into the 2nd through 5th grade curriculum. And as we took a closer look, and I met with counselors at the elementary level and really saw that there's a lot of overlap and there's a lot of opportunities for streamlining some of those topics that are more related to the guidance curriculum. But this is a basic overview of what I've been like implementing at the 2nd through 5th grade. But in addition to that, I also just wanted to highlight a few things that you don't see in there. I want to incorporate movement in the classroom as much as possible, whether it be a body movement that shows your understanding of learning. And so this is a 3rd grade class at Central School, just getting them up and moving around and working collaboratively. This is just a part of all of the things that we do with the students to get them engaged in the content that we're looking at. Just to show some examples, this is a 5th grade class looking at some food labels. They actually just really wanted to be in my presentation, so so that's a little bit of acting. They're not really shocked by the labels. And then they'll share their data up on the board and be able to predict and then see what different kinds of snacks have for sodium and things like that. So I also sometimes do like a scavenger hunt where they're looking for information around the room and they're just getting up and moving around. Up in the corner is some Elliott students that put the steps for hand washing in order. So I had some sets of those 5 steps, and they were able to work together and just kind of put those in the order just to get them kind of moving and doing stuff in the classroom. The other thing that I've really enjoyed implementing is mindfulness in the classroom. And this was one of my favorite days in Marshwood schools. It was the day before February break, and it was kind of a fun activity for the students. It was a very calming activity for them. But this is Mrs. Phelps with a 2nd grade student. The activity was I walked them through a visualization of a peaceful and quiet place. And this can be a place that they're familiar with or an imaginary place. And they used all their senses to think about what that place would be like. And then they had the opportunity to just quietly draw that place. And so this was kind of just a sweet moment. It was really quiet in the classroom, and the kids were really into it, and they had so much fun with it. They got to look at what each other had done after we did a gallery walk. And I just wanted to share this student who wrote Central School is their peaceful and quiet place. Football fields and rock climbing, but also incorporating nature. So these are just some examples of what we've incorporated with some of the mindfulness. But just kind of going back to the elementary health, I want to share this with you so that hopefully we can have a conversation or any questions that you have. I didn't know how much detail you wanted me to go into. I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what I've been up to. And what kinds of topics and skills we've been working on in health this year. So with that kind of general overview, I welcome you to answer or ask me any questions you have, or
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that the vision has evolved.
Yeah.
I think, I think if you would have had this conversation back last year, I think it would have been very clear that, next year, the idea was that, Aaron would be at Elliott Central School, and then we would kind of do the PE health together at the Great Works School. I think kind of diving into that, we want to maybe look at that a little bit deeper, and see if that's the right decision and see what that looks like. And so I'm looking for some flexibility with the current opening in physical education. We want to be able to have someone who's also certified in health, to be able to maybe take a couple of classes off the board or give us some flexibility. And I think really Aaron's done a marvelous job, speaking with Jerry about some of these more difficult topics, and it makes sense to kind of maybe keep the pattern that we're going and then really look at what we're doing with the program. So it's been as I said to Aaron, we had 0 last year, so this is 100% improvement, right? Like, this is awesome. And we're going to grow, and we're going to look at it. I think it's going to be a bigger conversation kind of once we get towards the end of the year, where we had a chance to kind of run the cycles with Jerry, Aaron, myself, and Heidi will sit down and talk a little bit about what that looks like, and then be able to go forward. So I think it's just been a super, super positive thing so far.
This is great. Yeah, we've talked a lot in wellness about sleep and digital citizenship and screen time, so it's nice to see that reflected here. Yeah.
I really love how the digital citizenship
Evolve.
builds
Yes.
from 3rd to 5th grade.
Yes.
It's more and more important.
Scaffolding.
I'm curious, any talk about the growth and development stuff maybe starting in grade 4, or?
I think this year it was kind of an assessing year because I didn't
Sure.
know where the students were. And yeah, I do some of like basic like hygiene and you're growing up. Like I weave it into all the topics, like, you're getting older now. And so all of the topics kind of are about like some of those social, emotional, and hygiene comes up once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of in an assessing year.
Okay,
And
fair enough.
like trying some things out, and some things haven't worked. And so, back to the drawing board.
Sure.
But it's been kind of just interesting to see the reaction of the kids, especially the mindfulness stuff. And I know we talked about that in the wellness committee. The kids ask for it. It's amazing because they'll be in like this like musical My Plate bingo where they're moving around and dancing, and then like within like a minute they're just like calm and they can get themselves just into a place where they can focus again. And so it's amazing to see. Like I always like sort of believed in it, but now that I get to see it in action, it's really pretty amazing. So it's been fun.
And I think that's the stuff we'll talk about at the end of the year. I mean, because there's 2 things happening, right? There's the curriculum change where we're adding curriculum, but there's also the cultural change, like about having these conversations and building that relationship with the community and be able to build that relationship with staff. So there's a lot going on at one time. And so I think just being able to get through it the first year and be able to see like, okay, this check plus to circle that one. That maybe wasn't the best thing in the world. Let's think about that a little bit. So.
Yes, great.
Erin has been great to work with. So, she works at Noble half-time, and then some days she's at Elliott, some days she's at Great Works, some days she's at Central, and just has such a great attitude about everything. And like you say, Jerry, tried this lesson. Didn't
No
go
go.
well. Well, this one was so awesome. But just that such a positive attitude. And like you say, this year has been, we're trying this, we're trying that, we're getting together. We met with Kate Potvin, the school counselor, yesterday, looking at how has it changed her curriculum. So, I just want to thank you because that's not an easy job, going from school to school. And, every day you're in a different place, and you just have such
600 students.
Right.
Wow.
And they all want me to know their name desperately.
Yeah.
I really want to know their name so desperately. But also, I go into 15 classrooms and the teachers are there with me at the younger schools, and always just such a welcoming and supportive, group of staff that you have here. And it's just pretty amazing to work with them. To see Mrs. Phelps, and they embrace the lessons. They like link it to what they're working on in curriculum. I did like a pie chart of something. I'm like, you remember this much or something? They're like, we did fractions, pie charts. It's just,
Cool.
it's kind of neat to work with them and just to see what's going on in all these different classrooms. I've learned so much from so many of these great teachers that you have here. So that's And of course, the administrators have been super supportive and working with my schedule, because I am 2.5 days here, 2.5 days. Friday is my day that I'm half at Noble, half at Central School. So it is a little, it's a balancing act. It's actually given me more energy for some reason. Like, I don't know what I used to do with my halftime. What did I do with my? I've been working part-time for a really long time, but so this has been, it's been a lot, but it's been kind of re-energized me, so.
Nice.
Great.
Well,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Mary.
very
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks
Okay.
for coming.
And you're welcome to head home also. You don't need to stay till the end of the meeting, so. Next on the agenda is just a quick discussion about the board workshop with Rollinsford's board next week prior to the meeting on the 7th. And so current topics are some 504 services, summer remediation and boost programs, talking about bus behavior, and then some surveys that wanted to be sent out, and then communication with Wallingford students. So if there's anything more that we want to add to the agenda, certainly let me know and I'll make sure I add that.
Have we heard from the Rollinsford board about
The first three are from them.
that? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
they-
First three are from,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yep. Yeah, the Superintendent Gazinski sent that over to me. The summer remediation, summer boost program is that we have been offering those services over the summertime on a federal grant, the money, the ESSER money that was provided by the pandemic.
Mhm.
That money is gone now, and so I reached out to ask the question, do they want the Rollinsford students to be included in that? That's something that goes above and beyond what we are currently offering educationally, and so that's a kind of a question that they need to kind of answer for themselves, what they would like to do. So that's where that came from. Fantastic.
That's at 6? Is that one?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
6 is 6:45. And I think it's gonna be a hard stop at 6:45 to get my brain together for the budget presentation at 7, so. Perfect. Next on the agenda is just a quick discussion about the district calendar. So this is a tricky year. And I wanted to get the board's feedback. So I've spoken to the QEA. I came to you probably a month and a half ago with like 4 different schedules. What do you think? And so this is what it boils down to, is that contractually, we can't have teachers starting prior to 3 business days before the first day of school. So that's just one of those contractual things we have to be aware of. The other part that we have to be aware of is that we have to be within that 5-day kind of offset schedule with SRTC schools and all of the schools. And so that's another kind of lever that we have to be aware of. And so at the end of the day, what really becomes the compromise point, because there's no easy way to do it, is graduation. And so graduation being on the 6th or being on the 13th. It does not look like it's really realistic at this point to be able to have graduation on the 6th. And that's kind of the curveball, because then we're going to start pushing things further and further back into August. I think we need to be mindful of that. So what it does is it creates a different issue on the other end. So if we started school, for instance, on Tuesday, the 3rd of September, that would put the last day of school, barring no snow days, on the 12th of June. So I just said that the graduation would have to be pushed to the 13th. And so the problem with going with the 6th is that if we went into 2 snow days, we would have to have seniors coming back for an additional day, because right now seniors basically have to have 170 school days. And so that creates a little bit of a rub there. So that's a problem. The other problem is it just feels like if we were to say the school ends on the 12th and we're going to count on a snow day, inevitably that will be the year we don't get a snow day, right? And so then we have a problem about graduation, where we have staff ending and graduation hasn't even occurred yet. So like that becomes a different set of issues. So that, looking into negotiating that. So there's a couple of options that we can do. And these are days that are already occupied with the SRTC calendar. So when I try to think about shifting things around, I'm trying to find the days that are already off because of different school districts. And so March 14th is one of those days that's an offset day. And what that day is that that's a day where some schools have a professional development day. So we have that day this year. So we could take away that professional development day at that time, and that would push, make that a school day, and it would kind of push things in a different way, kind of push things back a little bit. It would kind of create an area of like, what do we do with this other professional development day? We could put that at the end of the school year, which is never ideal by any means. But just, with that March Professional Development Day kind of this year aligned for us because it is already a day out of whack with the rest of the SRTC schools. And the staff really wanted that. That was really an important time to do that. And I'm really excited about what is happening next Friday. I would hate to lose that, but that's kind of one of the things, a variable that we could play with. We could float that day and kind of make the determination, the beginning of February on, whether it's going to be a professional day or whether it's going to be a school day. If we were doing that, it would be probably to try to, roll the dice and try to go to graduation on the 6th, and that would kind of end school a little bit earlier. That's a little bit dangerous because you still only have 2 or 3 days to play with at that time. A little nerve wracking. To the other side now, you got to space it out. So on one hand, you're trying to shrink the schedule to be able to accommodate the June 6th graduation, and the other option would be that we have to stretch it out. I just certainly we could do this, and then on the 12th on the half day, it makes me very, very concerned about graduation. I just having staff at graduation obviously is critical for the culture of this district. One of the things that we could do, and I wanted to put this is basically what I wanted to talk about, was that we could do a 1-year kind of fill, where there's, I believe right now, one district is still taking the Friday of before April vacation off. That's a dissimilar day right now with the SRT schedule. We could do that for 1 year, and that would push the last day of school to graduation, which would kind of take that pressure off. But it would give staff, it would be a non-paid day for staff, and it would be a no school day for students that Friday before April vacation. So it would just on one hand, we're trying to shrink the schedule, on the other hand, we're trying to elongate the schedule. So I just wanted to kind of put that out to you and
So that would be the 6th would be the last day, you're saying?
yeah, so what we would do, so if we
Yeah.
were to, let's just say April 18th,
Yep.
we were to say that's a no school day.
Yep.
What we would say is the last day of school would be June 13th, and that would be a half day, and that would be graduation.
Okay, the 13th. Okay.
Yeah. On the other side of it, if we said, you know what, we're going to forego the professional development day in March, and we're going to make that a school day, we could then push the last day of school back to June 11th, which would be a half day. And then that would basically give us 2, maybe 2.5 days to be able to have snow days in the event that we had snow, and it would not impact seniors. So those are kind of the 2 options right now when we look at the schedules. I would love
I'm
to be.
gonna speak out.
Yeah, please.
I feel like, just from what I've heard and how important I think, I don't think that it's negotiable to not have the teacher workshop. Professional development day, team building, like all the things that go along with that day. The fact that our district is the one putting it together, half the teachers are the presenters, like it's just so, everyone's so excited about it.
Absolutely.
It's a different kind of school day for them. I just don't see giving that up as a starting point to the conversation. So whatever that looks like at the
Yeah,
end
yeah,
of
no,
the year.
100%.
And so what you're saying though is if we keep it, then the 18th of April would be an option that you would put up to the QEA as being a potentially unpaid but extra day to the vacation.
Yeah, and so I want to be clear, we don't have to have the schedule approved by the QEA, but just in
Okay.
the spirit of collaboration,
Yeah,
I
well,
just
yeah,
want to sit
of
down and
course.
let's have the
Yeah,
conversation.
of
Let's be,
course.
and they are great partners, and so
Yeah.
that would be exactly what we would do. Not dissimilar to what we would do for voting day. And I think this hypothetically could be the last year that we have to worry about voting day being a
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
day off.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the,
and that could space, and there might be another option, but right now, that as I look at it, I'm not super comfortable with ending school before graduation. That just feels like,
No.
doesn't feel right to me.
No.
no.
This is all predicated on Tuesday, September 3rd being the first day of school.
First day of school, and exactly right.
Was there discussion about, I know we've been starting before Labor Day, did we already discuss that?
So right now, those are dissimilar days with
Okay,
SRTC, just because it's weird, because it's not, we've had the latest school can start, now it's basically almost the earliest, right? With the second being the Labor Day, that throws a little bit of a curveball into things. Speaking with the QEA, I think they would rather not start school before September because it's so early.
Yes,
I just think
I've heard
that that's the reality.
So there's basically, if we have a snow day, there's no way to have it on the 6th, the last day of graduation.
With the schedule of it, the way that it is
With the
here.
schedule the way it is, just.
That
Okay.
would be tough.
That would
Okay.
be very risky.
I mean, you could I'm not saying this is a good idea, I'm just hypothetically, you could make voting day the 5th, a professional development day, but the complaint from the QEA, and I think they're 100% right, and I agree with them, is that we basically have all of our professional development days like August, October, November.
Right.
And so it's kind of nice to be able to kind of customize what you need over the course of the year and kind of this, and I think, as Lisa pointed out, I think it's really, this is a cultural thing as well, right? Like this is teacher voice and teacher creation and people getting excited about and investigating passions and how they make their classrooms better. I think there's a lot to that. So that would be the curveball to that.
I had a similar reaction to Lisa when we talked about not doing that day, but I think we should do it.
So the curveball to that is going to be that 18th. Now, some families might have struggles with that. Others might be like, you know what, I'm going away. I can fly out on Thursday. I'm going to save $600 on plane tickets. Right? Like, that's just the reality of that. You know, that is a dissimilar day already. I mean, but I want to be clear that if we're going to do that, that's a one-time fix. That's not now. It's culture. This is going to be what we do.
Right.
I think that's a different thing to me.
Right.
Obviously, I would love to be able to do all those things, still keep graduation on the 6th. That would be wonderful, but that's tough.
Yeah.
I think it would be naive not to build some number of snow days into our assumption. And it may not be snow, it may be heavy rain and wind that causes power outages, right?
Yeah.
Just throw this out there. Is there any wiggle room as far as like making all the Thursdays in May full days or something? Is that?
Yeah.
That's a card you get to
we've
play
done
late
that
in the year, though,
before,
right?
haven't we?
Yeah.
That's like, my mother used to say there's a slush fund in her
Yes,
checking account,
okay.
right? Like there is some, so when we schedule our professional development days on Thursday, our schedule is a 33 and a half hour school week.
Yeah.
And so there has been years in the past where we've had to end it earlier because we got in the situation and we might have had like our last late start Thursday, early release Thursday, maybe the last week in May.
Yeah.
And that,
Right.
and so that we would make up that time that was lost, those 6 or 7 hours, basically 4 days would be able to
Right.
make that up. So that you might be able to squeeze a day out if you got into real trouble.
Okay.
Yep.
But not like that wouldn't get us the
About a week.
6th
Yeah.
type of thing and wiggle room for snow days. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're compromising the teacher's time for
Right.
whatever they're
Prep
doing
and
on those
everything. Yep.
Thursdays,
Yeah.
which I
Yep.
think is important to keep.
And sometimes we do that anyway, but I just think as
Yeah.
when we set our schedule,
Yes.
that's kind of the idea. is
Yes.
That does give us, the state does allow the makeup of that time.
Yeah.
I would love to do graduation on the 6th. I'm going to keep trying to, brainstorm to be able to find a way
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
I just, when you just start counting days,
Right.
it gets tough,
Yeah.
and frankly, I struggle even with the idea of coming back January 2nd and 3rd. Like you think from an educational standpoint, I don't necessarily know that the 2 days in January,
Yeah.
the 2nd and 3rd, are probably the most high value educational days that we could have. Like we're going to do it because that's what we're going to be in line with the count. I'm just
Oh,
saying
that's right,
from an
SRC,
educational
yes,
standpoint, I don't know
yes.
necessarily if
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good point.
those have like an invitation of like I'll come
Right.
back on Monday
Right.
type of feel. So when we're
Right.
talking about attendance, so.
Okay.
That's an interesting point.
Any questions? So what I'm hearing though, pretty clearly is we like the professional development day in March.
Yep.
If we can find a way to get graduation on the 6th and make it work, that would be wonderful. If we have to push it out, we're not opposed to the idea of creating a gap day in the middle of the school year or the end of the school year in April to be able to space that out if we need to do that.
Yes.
I think for me, if 3 days is kind of the magic number, like if we could
Yeah.
get 3 days of snow days built in, that would feel much better.
Yeah.
About that, I just get a little bit worried about graduation. I did reach out to the DOE because I wanted to find how flexible that was. What I don't want to do is, it has happened in the state where all of a sudden you get into trouble and you're telling your seniors you have to come in on Saturday.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you've got to get a certain percentage of the seniors there on Saturday in order for it to count. That is
Right,
not
doesn't
great.
No,
No.
So,
Yeah.
okay,
Sounds good.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is, I had talked a little bit about field trips and kind of what we do. So I provided the board with just some listings of the field trips that we take. And these are more so the annual field trips. These aren't kind of the things that like pop up and it's like an opportunity, let's go do it. This is kind of the standardized versions. And so if you look at Central School, there's a trip to Emory Farm for kindergartners. All grades, they do the walking hike usually to get an ice cream. That's something they always typically do, in the springtime. Hike through history there is something that they always take trips for to go to Vaughan Woods. Second grade, goes to Loud Home Farms. Third grade goes to the Nutcracker Ballet to be able to see that as kind of part of the Nutcracker presentation that they do. EES has the walk to the fire department, the Portsmouth Music Hall. And so you can kind of see the different things that are occurring. And so what we really wanted to try to do is, the reason for this was the board was thinking, like, we want to get back to having those opportunities for kids to have those once in a, those cornerstone or keystone moments that they can have. We talk about, Pinkham Notch, and we talk about those types of things. So I think you have an opportunity to kind of see all of the different trips that occur. Looking at this, it's clear that, at the middle school, some of those things have been lost. For instance, we talk about hike through history kind of getting moved from 8th grade to 7th grade. So that was a transition that occurred a couple of years ago. I think that makes sense just because curriculum-wise, the 7th graders are studying that time period in social studies, so it makes logical sense to tie that together with the hike through history. But one of the things that has been kind of lost with that is the trip to Lowell Mills, is that we talked about before. That was something that was used to be a regular meal. I think at the time, I'm going back in time now, dating myself, but typically that they would read the book Liddy, and then Liddy they would take a trip to the Lowell Mills, and then looking at kind of the other opportunities. Really happy to see the school counselors taking the kids to Sanford Regional Technical Center, for an opportunity to kind of see the programs that are being offered, and then also the Choose to Be Healthy Coalition Youth Summit that takes place. The high school, I think we're doing a lot of work right now of just kind of trying to bring these things back, and Brett and the school counselors are working really hard on like the college tours and like what's the best way to do that. Some of these things are a little bit harder to do than just a matter of like, hey, let's get a bus and we're going to go to 3 colleges. There's a lot more, like how they're going to eat, what's that going to look like, what's the timing that works, can we find a day that works for everybody? And so trying to find an opportunity to do that, but we do have the college visits down there. We do take SRTC program tours for all sophomores if they're interested in being a part of the SRTC after kind of the presentation here. We also have the Dover vocational tours. We have some of the stuff that Kyle talked about with the work with Pride Whitney, and some of the ELO work really isn't in here because that's fairly new. The marine biology, that's typically part of that class. And so the field trips you're going to see at the high school typically are more class-based.
Sure.
The AP Art History will go to Boston. Band, of course, has a number of different things. The French classes have some opportunities. Crime and Justice goes to the York Courthouse. The advanced foods, I'm not sure. I believe that they still may also go to the supermarket and do some shopping as well. Is that part of that?
We have not done that field trip.
Okay, not this year. Okay. And then, the fiber arts and exploring childhood, there's some different opportunities for kids. And then our integrated studies program, and there's a bunch of different field trips for our integrated study kids as well. So you had kind of said, like, what are we really doing? And so this kind of gives you an opportunity to see what's actually happening in the schools. Any questions? I know this is kind of a priority of the board that we want to be able to support these types of things and getting that back to where we were. There's a lot here. when you start thinking about, I think we're very fortunate to be able to do what we do because, I mean, there's a financial commitment that is tied into this, and to be able to do this is great. I will say, and Jerry said it before, but, Heather Webster does a remarkable job of, trying to find a way to make things work. It's not easy because typically for a field trip, our general rule is we can't have a field trip leaving until 8:45 roughly, right? Because that's, we get the high school run, the middle school run. We also say Thursdays is out as a general rule. It's just too much going on. But she does a really nice job of trying to find a way to make things happen, and certainly on a short notice to be able to do that. So.
Great.
Okay. Now for your heart stopper, number 5, we have a couple of retirements. First is Steve Bowden, who has been a long-time social studies teacher here at Marshwood High School. He is just a cornerstone of this building over the last number of years. Obviously happy for Steve, but he has certainly given a lot of his time, a lot of himself here, and so just wanted to recognize him with his retirement. And then we had the retirement of Jerry Burnell. And so there's a little bit more to the story that we'll get to in the new business. And I'll give Mr. Burnell an opportunity to kind of share was cooking, but just wanted to be clear. So part of this process is that as of June 30th, Mr. Brunel will be retiring as principal of Marshall Great Works School for a little while.
That we've known this day is coming doesn't make it
I know,
any
it
easier.
feels terrible.
Yeah, we got to. Yeah, John's math. All right.
Hopefully there's a bigger story.
Yeah.
Any questions? We'll get to the bigger story. I
We
promise.
will, eager to get to it.
Yes, all right. James.
Hi everyone.
Hey, James.
So for sports, over the past few weeks, the ski team had their state meet and it went very well. Both Hadley Pruitt and Quinn McGuire took first place in both slalom and GS for the girls and for the boys. They competed at shootouts over the break. Quinn qualified for Easterns that will be held next Friday at Attitash Mountain. Both the boys and the girls team won the Sportsmanship Award, which was very well deserved.
So great.
Overall, very great results produced by Marshwood. Unified Basketball had their senior night against Massabesic. The stands were filled and the cheering was loud. Lots of threes were drained, and the Nighthawks won by 2, which was really amazing. Hockey has their quarterfinals this Friday against Bangor. They're doing really well this season, and hopefully they can make it to the next round. Indoor track had their state meet at USM. Andrea Clark qualified in the 55 meters, and Maya Sanzone qualified in the 1 mile. The 4x200 relay with Braden Gagnon, Harrison Page, Micaiah Perrin, and Andre Clark all qualified for New England's, and that'll be held in Boston.
Nice.
Boys volleyball started up this Monday. The season is still only 3 weeks this year. It's in between winter and spring sports, but spirits are really up. About 20 players are participating this year, which is really amazing. We hope to get approval from the state to become a full season sport by next year. Right now, the team has a few games scheduled for March against Falmouth and Biddeford. For Student Gov, the week before February break, Student Gov planned out the Winter Carnival. Throughout the week, students dressed up for theme days. They included Pajama Day, Tacky Tourist Day, and Pink Day. Fun activities were planned during our 25-minute advisory blocks. On Friday, classes were shortened, and we had a fun assembly planned for the end of the day. Students had the option to be in the gym for kind of pep rally style games, or in the cafeteria for more quiet activities like board games and coloring. The whole day was really a hit. Lots of people gave positive feedback. Lots of people had a really fun start to their break. And right now, student government is working on wrapping up the year. We're trying to tie up a lot of loose ends, work on some last projects, and set up for a functional group next year. And then for extracurriculars, Interact has a really big community closet cleanout tomorrow after school, and a dodgeball tournament is being planned for sometime in April to donate the funds to Nellie Young and another global organization. Math team has its final meet before states next Wednesday, March 6th at Wells High School. They're super excited. They hope to score really well. Quiz Bowl has a meet this Saturday at Deering High School in Portland. We have enough to fill 2 teams, and there will be a few newer participants, which is really awesome. Civil rights team has been working on discussing some important issues, including recent incident in Oklahoma, the broader issue of LGBTQ plus laws and policies, and how this applies to us at MHS, and other topics. Winter Guard and Winter Percussion had their first performance last weekend at Somersworth. They did really well. The one-act play Shakespeare's Sister has performances at Marshwood High School this Friday and Saturday, March 1st and 2nd. They're doing reserve seating. Tickets can be purchased online or at the door. It's looking like it's going to be a really great show. They have a great cast. And then Mamma Mia, the spring play, practice has been going really well. The cast is really excited to get on the stage. Everyone's working really hard to put together an amazing production. And then in other news for the music department, next month is Music in Our Schools Month, which is really great. Next Tuesday, March 5th, will be the district band concert for students in grades 5 to 12. It'll be held at the high school. Next week includes an artist residency, which is really awesome. Central School has its grade 2 concert on March 12th, and March 13th is the district choral concert or choral festival. Marshwood Middle School has its yearly talent show coming up as well, and the Great Works School Chorus will be singing at a Maine Mariners game, which is super interesting, super awesome. So a few really great weeks coming up for Marshwood Music. And then just one last thing, I also wanted to mention the South Africa and the Peru trips over February break. They're two really great opportunities that were offered to students at the high school. Those who went to South Africa got back Sunday afternoon, and the Peru trip folks just got back like a few hours ago, actually. So that's pretty great. Students got to immerse themselves into these new places. They were able to do a lot of enriching things. In South Africa, they got to swim with penguins. They got to go to apartheid museums, and they went on safari. And then more to come for the Peru trip. I haven't gotten in touch with any of them yet, but more to come for the next week. So, yeah.
I think Kate and Heather chaperone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're
they were in
Yeah.
Peru. They're just getting back. Thank you. That was content rich.
Thank you.
Well
Thank you,
done.
Jane.
Really nice update.
Well done.
Fantastic. That concludes my report.
Thank you. No correspondence upon which to report. Moves us into the report of the committees. First up, Finance and Facilities met earlier this evening. I was the sole board representative, as the other two were in Peru. So I'll do my best. Start with the numbers. We finished January with a healthy general fund cash balance. Revenues and expenditures are very close to each other and only slightly over budget, but that's a leveling thing. It's all tracking exactly the way we hope it would. Adult ed is still very much in the black. Food service also in the black, in part because of a February number that got put in. Federal grants are still running behind, but the grant payments for last year are still rolling in, so we're expecting that money to catch up at some point. The revenue and expenditure monthly report tracking normally. And I think that's pretty much it for the numbers. Facility update. There was a meeting recently with Specialty Services to talk about heating and cooling options at the schools, in part because Efficiency Maine and the state are both asking schools to look into heat pumps. So preliminary looks at places like cafeterias or kitchens, it turns out that it's probably going to be prohibitively expensive. So that I think will be an ongoing thing to consider, but right now it's not something we can think about implementing. Our 3-year contract with WB Mason is up, and we're looking at quotes for cleaning supplies and materials from them and Cleanorama, and researching Amazon as well, in the process of selecting the vendor for next year. Next Tuesday is an election day. It's both Democratic and Republican primary day, and that will take place at the Marshwood Middle School. There's a small area of staff parking lot that will be cordoned off for something like 12 spaces for people to come in. I think turnout is expected to be low since both primaries aren't really contests. So there will be an additional police officer on duty that day as well. The boiler project work here at the high school has started. The doorway has been cut and installed. The new doorway that will accommodate the size of the new boiler. That boiler install is expected to take place over the summer. Feminine hygiene products are now in all of the bathrooms in the middle and high schools, so that's cool. Under transportation, it looks like Big Construction is looking to sell that building, and so we're looking at ways to come up with a plan for bus garage. There are talks with some folks at Libby Scott who are looking at doing new construction across the street from here. So it's possible that we'll be looking at that in the future, which will, among other things, save a bunch of gas money driving the buses across the street rather than
5 years or so from now.
yeah, that's out in the future, but we're basically hedging our bets, making sure that we have a plan going forward. We're in the process of interviewing for a transportation director, hoping to have that person hired by June so that we can have a month of overlap with Heather. One of our vans is dead or dying, and the cost of the fix is going to exceed the value of the vehicle, so we're going to have to pick up another van. There'll likely be a lease proposal on the agenda for next week, so stay tuned for that. The SVPP grant around the security stuff, there was a meeting with Ricardo today to review camera placement in all of the schools. That information will be incorporated into the pre-bid conference with interested vendors so that we know we're getting bids that are apples to apples. So that's all moving forward, and the pre-bid conference with the vendors is tomorrow, so that's moving forward pretty rapidly. There were recent tasting events at both CES and ES under food service, and those went well. There was a question raised by a fellow board member about the milk here. The cartons are not Oakhurst cartons, but we've learned, or we're 99% sure at this point, that it is in fact Oakhurst milk. They're having an issue with their carton vendor. So they're getting Disney characters instead of the Oakhurst logo, which is okay, I guess. All right. There had been an issue with trash pickup at the middle school. The Casella folks were showing up right when students were getting dropped off in the morning, and that was raising potential issues with safety. So we've worked that through with them, and they're now, the timing's been adjusted so that they're getting there earlier. So that's all fixed. And that is the end of the FNF report. So that brings us to Ed Policy, which met
Today.
earlier today. Is that
That's correct.
true? Anybody have anything to say other than do we have any first reads? Oh, that's next week.
Next.
Okay.
That's really it.
Yeah.
Our next meeting.
Okay, so we'll have first reads at our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And
and-
rescind also at the next
Sorry?
meeting. And one for rescind at the next meeting as well.
Okay,
That's correct.
great, thank you. And Wellness SEL will meet next Wednesday. Reminder to all of you that we are meeting again next Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, our next
Thank
board
you.
meeting is in a week. Great, okay, that concludes the reports of the committees and brings us to new business.
Quick question for you,
Yes,
just from looking at the schedule. Do we have wellness before that then, if we're going, meeting with the workshop?
Wellness is going to be canceled because of the board workshop.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
so we'll just.
No
the
wellness.
committee
wellness for the
meeting.
month,
Wellness for the
or
month.
not moving it to a
Oh,
different.
so we're not, so
Oh, right.
I just lied. They're not gonna next meet on March 6th.
Sorry.
Because March 6th is
Is
would
the
be
workshop.
the workshop with the Rollinsford people.
Right.
So certainly could meet at 5:30 if that would be what you wanted to do, but just, we are
Right.
backed up for
Yeah,
time.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Great
Just
question.
wanted to-
So to be discussed, possibility to meet somewhere in there.
The other-
but
yeah.
we'll see.
I'm going to let Dr. De'Aaron reach out
Yeah,
to everybody and
that's-
see
yeah,
what
sounds
might
good.
work the best.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
That's a great
Thank you.
idea.
Just hold on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I want to be mindful, because what you could do, just throwing out an idea, is you could do a Zoom meeting on the 20th. That way you could meet over Zoom, because the people who would be at FNF would not necessarily be the same people that were at the wellness committee, and I would like to try to avoid the principals coming in for an extra night if I could
Sure.
avoid that, just to protect their
Makes sense.
time.
Oh, that's
So-
a good,
Yeah,
that's a good
So
call.
Makes
I
sense.
could talk to,
So mean before the board meeting?
yeah, so when FNF is meeting, you could have
Oh,
wellness meeting
right. Oh, right.
via
So
Zoom.
it's the same people.
Yeah, I'd like to, out of fairness to
Sure.
Jerry and Nan, I'd like to
Yeah.
avoid them driving in for another night.
Okay, so we'll just wait to hear from.
Yeah, I'll talk to
Sounds good.
Nan tomorrow.
Thank you for clarifying.
Makes
you.
sense. Yep. Okay, that does bring us to new business. I think I'd like to have a motion for the approval of the retirement of our current Great Works School principal.
I looked ahead, so I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to approve the retirement of Jerry Burnell, principal, Marshwood Great Works School, effective June 30th, 2024.
Second, Rebecca.
Rebecca, thank you. This would be a good time for a discussion.
Sure, okay. Maine state retirement laws are pretty clear, and so obviously, Mr. Brunel is a critical and integral part of the culture of this district and will be forever. And so we had a conversation to be able to talk about retirement and then to return. And so the way that works with Maine state law is that if you retire after a certain age, you have to have 30 days away from the job before you can take and come back. This is totally above board. This has been approved by the Maine State Retirement Association, but this is just, it's just sometimes there's some wonky rules, and this is one of those wonky rules. So, Jerry, do you want to say anything?
My wife says I'm never
Yeah, yes, right.
But John, and I've talked about it for a while, every year, like, gonna come back around, and, I mean, I just love, I can't imagine. But with the retirement rules, it's a benefit to me and my family to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're able to get a pension, and then you're able to obviously work, so. I talked to John, and I think, the words he used was above board. I wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page. You know, I'll have most of the summer work done before I leave. Maybe even take a little trip. I did
Nice.
here with Maura the other day, and they said, how are you gonna stay away? I said, well, I think I could volunteer. As long as I would pay, I think I could volunteer. But,
You're gonna turn your fob off.
Yeah.
You will turn your fob off in
Yeah.
the first, you know.
Seriously, walk around.
but it's, and every year I go into, you know, how long am I gonna work? And I love coming in, and I've always told John, I said a while ago, if I'm not doing my job, you you just gotta tell me, you gotta tell me about it. So, and, you're okay. You're okay. So, that's what I would like to do, is retire, have that benefit, take the month of July off, and then come back ready to go.
So I can guarantee you something. If this was a real resignation, there has been no bigger mentor for me educationally than Mr. Brunel.
Yes.
And so that would have been far more hoopla
Yes.
than just,
Right.
hey,
Yes.
here's a motion
Yes.
on the agenda.
Not a dry eye.
I was
you know,
gonna say,
Obviously, we wanted to make sure this was done right. Jerry's integrity is really important to him, to make sure that everything was done the appropriate way. We called and triple checked. We spoke with our attorneys, we spoke with the main PERS. This is the process that we would need to do.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, this couldn't be any better news, just to be able to maintain that incredible culture that Mr. Brunello has created. And I will say it once again, I've never seen a school in my life that creates culture better than Marshall Great Work School, and I believe that. And that's a testament to Mr. Brunello and his hard work. So I full-heartedly support the next two motions.
Comments or questions? All in favor? That's 4-0. May I have a motion, please,
I
to
move-
approve the hiring of Jerry Burnell? Didn't we just get rid of this
I
guy?
know. I move to approve the hiring of Jerry Burnell, Principal, Marshwood Great Works School, August 1st, 2024, prorated salary TBD.
Second, Jen.
Jen? Okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Yay.
4-0. Yes, welcome back.
We missed you.
May I have a motion, please, with regard to the appointment of Anthony Bergman as interim assistant principal?
I move to approve Anthony Bourbon as interim assistant principal, Marshwood High School, school year 2024 to 2025.
second, Lisa?
Thank you, Lisa.
I am tickled that Mr. Bourbon has agreed to come back for one more year, and he's made it clear that this is it. But when you think about the students and staff at Marshwood High School, there has been such transition with the position of assistant principal over the last few years, and you don't think of it necessarily, but you have 2020. Where we have somewhat of a normal school year, and then we have kind of this 2-year strange world that we lived in with COVID. And so that changed the role of the assistant principal. And then Mr. Daly left the year after that, and Dr. McGlinchey came in. And so really there's been 4 or 5 transitions. Tony is as steady and as seasoned as an administrator as you can have. He understands students. He has made a difference in this building. Brett has, sung the praises of him. So for us to be able to have that consistency for one more year is really important. We will obviously post the position next year to give us time. One of the situations we ran into last year is that everything was so late in the game that we ran into problems. But this really, for me, is about, this allows Brett to focus on being the principal rather than focusing on bringing, training a new assistant principal and having that on his plate. This allows him to be able to say, I've got a trusted person in my assistant principals to be able to manage the everyday stuff of the building. I can worry about being the principal and having the bigger vision. So again, it took a little bit of conversation to get there, but we're excited that it's there. And just, again, I full-heartedly support this.
Comments or questions? All in favor? That's 4-0. Thank you. Excellent. Motion, please, to approve a donation.
I move to approve a donation for the Elliott Elementary School Playground Enhancement Project in the amount of $5,000 from Elliott Baptist Church.
Second, Lisa?
Thank you.
Dr. Harrison's working hard to get that playground built, I'm telling you right now.
Right.
So we are just so thankful to Elliott Baptist Church for being willing to step up and be a part of this incredible opportunity for our students
So great.
and community members. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. Yes, thank you. Was right. Questions or comments? All in favor? It's also 4-0. Good. We have 3 second reads. Motion, please, with regard to IIB.
Move to approve the second reading and adoption of policy IIB, class size policy.
Second, Jen?
Jen, very good. This is a second read, no changes from last time. Questions or comments? All in favor? 4-0, thank you. Motion, please, with regard to BHC.
I move to approve the second reading and adoption of policy BHC, board relationships and communications with staff.
Second, Lisa.
Same. Second read, no changes since last. Comments or questions? All in favor? 4-0, thank you. Lastly, a motion with regard to ADAA.
Move to approve the second reading and adoption of policy ADAA, school system commitment to standards for ethical and responsible behavior for students.
And second, Rebecca.
Rebecca, thank you. Again, second read, no changes. Yes, comments or questions? All in favor? It's 4-0. That concludes new business and brings us to building administrator check-in. We have the upper grades. I could speak.
So we've had some great attendance since we've come back from our break. So I just wanted to report out on the 27th, Tuesday, the sixth grade was 97% attendance.
Oh,
They
nice.
were all, that was a great number. The seventh grade was 91% and eighth grade was 92 with an overall for the whole school 93% attendance, which is pretty awesome. For yesterday, sixth grade was 94%, seventh grade 94, eighth grade 96 with a 95%. So we're seeing the fruits of our labor there. We have a big seventh grade dance coming up on Friday, so we're very excited. I think it's Winter Wonderland, so the kids are getting all excited. Families are donating, and we can't thank the families enough to donate waters and drinks and snacks and bananas. So, we're having our book fair. Sorry, I had to. Maybe some strawberries. Oh no, we live on the wild side. Our book fair, we're very excited. It's from March 4th to the 12th. We were looking for volunteers through our PTO, but our students lead that and really structure that time and work that. So we're excited about that. So we're having a MLTI STEM Day on I believe the 7th. What day? Yeah, I believe it's the 7th. And these are going to be in the allied arts and selected classes that want to do it. And it's going to build creativity, technology, computer science, team building, games. It's asynchronous, but it's a game-based model this year. So the kids and the staff are looking forward to that. On the 7th of March, we're going to have a guest author, Matt De La Penda. I hope I said it right. He specialized in novels of young adults. He's won a bunch of New York's bestsellers and Newbery Medal winner. So we're excited for him to come. The Kittery art collaboration. 5 of our students are going to go to an art shop at the Kittery Community Center. And so they're going to just have a great day immersing themselves in art, which is awesome. Our conferences are on the 7th and the 12th. James mentioned a lot of the things that are happening in music, and the district choral workshop is going to be here at the high school, and we're bringing all the chorus members together to rehearse and perform and new choral experience in a larger group. So our kids are really looking forward to doing that. On March 9th, we are going to have 6th grade 12 singers go to the York High School. It's a one-day event to sing at the, I don't remember what that was. But they're going to the high school at New York to do some more choral work. We're having our talent show on March 20th at 6:30 p.m. And it's open to everyone that wants to come. And it's going to be showcasing the talents of our students and some staff if they participate. On the 27th, the 6th grade course is going to go to Augusta State House. They were invited by the state representative, Michelle Meyer, And they will be singing the national anthem to begin the house session. So we're very, very excited about that. The 8th grade class is having a dodgeball fundraiser on the 21st of March. And so we're hoping to get families to participate in the dodgeball and staff to go against the kids. So we're looking forward to that. And again, we'll have some snickety snacks there. Bananas, maybe some blueberries. We have some really cool stuff starting. Chelsea Farrington from Partners for a Healthy Community Coalition, who is the tobacco prevention coordinator there. We're going to be working seamless. Like, we met and we all just gelled. She came to meet with me, my counselors, and we really want to do some preventative work at our school instead of being reactive. We really want to be proactive with this. So on our first conference night, she's going to hold 3 different 30-minute presentations for parents only to kick it off, to help have that conversation of what it could look like with your child. How can we prevent them from taking that step? The tentative times for that will be 3, 4:30, and 5:30. And then she's going to come and work with our NJHS students one time, and then she's going to come another time to our student council, and then work with our civil discourse leaders and give them the knowledge and the language to use to help. And then they're going to go off within the school, those students, and do some preventative activities within the school. So we're so excited to have that. It's all free. We're really looking to partner with her as much as we possibly can. And that is it that I.
That's a lot.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's what's happening at.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
As I had mentioned last month, March and April and May just start to go in so many different directions. I know James had mentioned a number of events that are coming up at the high school, and he honestly just scratched the surface. There's so many things going on. We too have that speaker coming to speak with our 9th graders on the 7th. Parent-teacher conferences on the 7th and 14th. And on the 14th, like we did last year, Jen, we're having the 8th grade family night. So all 8th graders and their families are coming up. We'll have them together for about a half hour to do a short slideshow in the auditorium. And then I'm going to use the words, we send them on a scavenger hunt. And basically what I say is, I want you to think of questions, but I don't want you to ask me at the end of this presentation. I want you to go out into the gym and seek out your answers. So if you have a question about advanced English class, our English department is set up. If you have a question about when golf tryouts might begin, find the golf table and just go seek out your answers. And then we have some student ambassadors come and give tours of our building as well. But very, very well attended last year, and a positive event. A number of other things. One of the biggest things I think that we're really planning for right now, thanks to the suggestion of Rebecca, is a SEED, what we're calling the SEED Day on March 13th. The acronym for SEED stands for Students Empowered to End Dependencies. And it is student-driven, and they have attended a number of high schools across the state to share their message. And their message is where they struggled with their addictions and what worked best for them to communicate and to get the help that they needed. So we've got a presentation coming in for half the school, and then the other half of the school will be doing some kind of workshop sort of activities, which are a little bit different for upperclassmen than 9th and 10th graders, because we've also got the Brown Center coming in to work with 9th graders and 10th graders in smaller groups of how we build our community and how we communicate with each other. So a big hour-and-a-half event that we're working on, and a lot going on with that. A couple other things, odds and ends. James mentioned about Andre Clark winning the state. Well, not only did he win the state in the 55, he set a state record, which is huge, and has qualified now not just for New England's, but for nationals, which are in the Boston area that he'll be competing in this year. So really excited. If you've ever seen him run, it's amazing. He's so fast. So. We had a donation to our band program. Charlotte Mayo, on behalf of her deceased husband, David, has donated a clarinet, violin, and saxophone. The reason we didn't bring the donation to the board is because they're less than $500. But Mr. Gratian came to me and said that donation had come through and you're going to use those things. We also had James talk a little bit about sportsmanship. Last year, we had 7 sportsmanship awards for our school, which was a state record for 2 hours. And then a school up near Bangor hit 8 just shortly after us. So the record now is 8. And so we started off this year, and honestly, I was kind of shocked. We didn't have any in the fall. But here we are now in the winter season. Out of 8 possible opportunities in the southern half of the state for Class A, we won 4 of them.
Nice.
That's huge.
That is.
And credit to Mr. Buzzle for the guidance of the athletic program, credit to the coaches, and certainly the athletes and the parents, because it's no secret that we really do try to make Marshwood a welcoming environment for the teams that do come, and by being recognized with those sportsmanship banners, 11 in a year and a half or a year and 2/3 is unbelievable. So that is about all I have, and like I said, so many things coming up, and all different, a variety of directions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any last comments from anyone on the board? In that case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.